They told you the ocean took her, that she slipped, that she fell, that the water was too dark and too deep to give her back. But oceans don't write letters. Oceans don't coordinate timelines. And oceans don't call grieving mothers and tell them to let it go. The night Eliza Carter died, there were no witnesses to a fall. No body recovered. Only a story. A story that was accepted quickly, filed neatly, closed permanently. But what if there was no accident? What if the splash everyone imagined never happened? Tonight, we reconstruct the final hours aboard that ship. The conversations no one heard. The instructions no one questioned. The plan that turned a daughter into a ghost. Because the ocean didn't take her life. Someone planned her disappearance. And when the truth finally surfaced, it didn't just expose a lie. It exposed who was willing to kill to protect it. It didn't begin on the ship. It began in a kitchen. Years earlier. Eliza was 16, the first time Victor Hale positioned himself as the only one who truly understood her. Naomi remembered that year clearly now, replaying it with new eyes. Back then it had looked like bonding, a stepfather making an effort, a teenager feeling heard. It had seemed harmless, healthy even. Victor would sit at the edge of the counter while Eliza vented about school. He'd nod slowly, asking thoughtful questions. He had a way of leaning forward slightly, elbows on his knees, giving her his full attention as if nothing else in the world mattered. "Your mom worries too much," he'd say gently. "She's protective, that's her job, but she doesn't always see how capable you are." It sounded affirming. It sounded supportive. It was positioning. Naomi had been working longer hours that year. Promotions had come with responsibility. Responsibility came with distance. Not emotional distance, but time distance. Victor filled the quiet spaces. He started small. He'd drive Eliza to school even when she could have taken the bus. He'd stop for coffee with her on the way home. He'd introduce private conversations framed as mentorship. "You're different," he told her once. "You think bigger than this town." Eliza glowed under that kind of validation. Victor knew exactly how to deliver it. He never criticized Naomi directly. That would have been obvious. Instead, he created contrast. "She means well," he'd say, "but she doesn't always understand risk." Risk. The word entered the house subtly. Victor worked in finance, investments, consulting, deals Naomi never fully understood but trusted him with. He began explaining those things to Eliza in simplified terms. "Money moves quietly," he told her one evening while showing her charts on his laptop. "The people who win are the ones who see patterns before everyone else." Eliza listened, fascinated. He began opening small accounts in her name. College funds, he called them, private investments, opportunities. "Your mom doesn't need to stress about this," he said. "Let me handle it. You and I will build something smarter. You and I. A partnership. Exclusive." Eliza started confiding in him, more than Naomi realized. Teenage arguments between mother and daughter became data points for Victor. When Naomi enforced curfews, Victor softened the blow afterward. "She's scared of losing you," he'd say, "but she doesn't see how strong you are." Strength became another hook. When Eliza struggled in math, Victor reframed it as misalignment. "School isn't designed for people like you. You think strategically, not mechanically." He reframed insecurity as superiority. He reframed dependence as collaboration. He reframed isolation as maturity. By 17, Eliza was spending evenings in Victor's home office, learning about offshore accounts and shell corporations disguised as theoretical exercises. "Hypothetically," he'd say casually, "if someone needed to disappear for a while, it's easier than people think." Eliza had laughed the first time. Disappear like fake your death. Victor didn't laugh. Not fake, he corrected smoothly. Strategically withdraw. The language mattered. He never presented danger directly. He presented threats abstractly. Some investments, he explained one night, lowering his voice slightly, attract attention. People who don't like losing money. Eliza's brow furrowed. Are you in trouble? Victor paused just long enough. Nothing I can't handle, he said, but sometimes it's better if certain assets aren't traceable. Assets? She didn't notice when she became one. He began creating hypothetical scenarios. If someone wanted to protect their family from retaliation, he said, the cleanest solution is temporary absence. Temporary. Always temporary. He painted disappearing as protection, as sacrifice, as strategy. By 18, Eliza believed she was helping him navigate something dangerous but temporary. He shared just enough fabricated risk to keep her concerned, but not enough to alarm her fully. Your mom can't know, he told her gently. She'd panic, and panic creates noise. Noise. Another subtle framing. Naomi, without knowing it, became the unstable variable. Victor became the calm one. The planner. The protector. When Eliza expressed hesitation, Victor never pushed aggressively. He'd withdraw slightly, let silence stretch. You don't have to, he'd say quietly. I'll figure something else out. The possibility of disappointing him began to weigh on her. He introduced fear gradually. Sometimes accidents happen around money, he said one evening, voice low. Wrong place, wrong time. The implication lingered. Not stated. Not explicit. But seeded. When the cruise was first mentioned, it wasn't presented as escape. It was framed as reward. You deserve a break before college, Victor said. Time away, clear your head. He had already planted the idea that stepping away could solve problems. The cruise wasn't spontaneous. It was timed. Naomi had questioned the suddenness. Victor smiled reassuringly. Last-minute deal, he explained. Non-refundable. The word non-refundable would echo later in ways Naomi would never forget. In the weeks before departure, Victor's tone shifted subtly. More serious. More private. Eliza, he said one night in his office, shutting the door softly, if something happens while we're gone, I need you to trust me. Her stomach tightened. What kind of something? He exhaled slowly, as if choosing how much truth to release. People don't like losing leverage. If anyone starts asking questions, if anything feels wrong, we may need to pivot. Pivot. Strategic language again. He slid a folder across the desk. Inside were identification documents. Different name. Different state. Eliza's pulse quickened. This is hypothetical, he assured her. Emergency only, insurance policy. She should have walked away then. But he had built years of trust. Years of positioning himself as the calm architect of safety. What about Mom? She whispered. Victor's eyes softened. This would protect her too. He leaned back slightly. Sometimes the only way to survive is to vanish. The sentence landed heavy. But not frightening. Strategic. Necessary. Temporary. He never said she would die. He never used that word. He described disappearance as repositioning. As a chess move. As something intelligent people did when threatened. Eliza didn't see the trap because it wasn't built like one. It was built like protection. The night before departure, Victor sat beside her on the back patio. The air was cool, crickets humming softly. You trust me, don't you? He asked. She nodded. He reached over and squeezed her hand. "Everything we do from here," he said quietly, "is to keep you safe." She didn't know then that safety and control can look identical at first. She didn't know that isolation can masquerade as partnership. She didn't know that every small step had been calibrating her toward one irreversible night. And by the time the ship left port, the idea of vanishing no longer sounded impossible. It sounded necessary. The cruise ship left port just after sunset. Music drifted across the deck as families waved from railings. Champagne glasses clinked. Luggage wheels rattled across polished floors. The atmosphere was celebratory, careless, unburdened. Eliza stood beside the railing and watched the shoreline grow smaller. Victor stood close enough that their shoulders almost touched. To anyone observing, they were stepfather and daughter on vacation. To Eliza, it felt like the beginning of something undefined. The word temporary repeated in her head. Temporary solution. Temporary absence. Temporary pivot. Victor had been calm all day. Too calm. He handled check-in. He handled the luggage. He handled the cabin arrangement. He insisted on keeping their passports for safekeeping. He also insisted on a room change after boarding. Better view, he explained to staff smoothly. But the new cabin was closer to a restricted access corridor, near the lifeboat deck. Eliza didn't know that at the time. She only knew that Victor kept checking his watch. Dinner passed quietly. Victor barely touched his food. He excused himself twice to take calls on the outer deck. When he returned the second time, something in his posture had shifted. Tighter, more alert. "It's time," he said quietly. Eliza's stomach dropped. "For what?" Victor's voice lowered, steady but firm. "For the pivot." Her heart began to pound. "This is just precautionary," he continued. "No one is in danger, but I need you to follow instructions exactly." The ship's horn sounded in the distance. Dark ocean stretched in every direction now. Eliza felt small against it. Victor guided her back to the cabin. He closed the door softly behind them. From his suitcase, he removed a small waterproof pouch. Inside were documents. The alternate ID. Cash. A prepaid phone. Her breath came shallow. "This is temporary," he repeated. "A few months, maybe less." "What about Mom?" she whispered again. Victor stepped closer, placing both hands gently on her shoulders. "Your mother cannot know. If she knows, she becomes a liability." The word stung. "She worries emotionally. That's not useful right now." Eliza's mind raced. "This doesn't feel temporary," she said. Victor's jaw tightened slightly. "It is the only way to prevent something permanent." He reached into the bathroom and turned the shower on full blast. Water thundered against tile. "From this moment on," he said quietly, "you do not question timing, you trust it." Her chest tightened. "What exactly is happening?" Victor exhaled, as if burdened by information too heavy to share. "Some partners I worked with miscalculated risk. They think I owe them something. This buys time." "Buys time how?" Victor's gaze held hers. "Because no one looks for someone who's already gone." The words landed differently this time. Already gone. A knock sounded on the cabin door. 3 quick taps. Victor didn't flinch. He opened it slightly. A crew member stood there. Expression neutral. Victor handed him something folded, money. No words exchanged. The crew member nodded once and left. Eliza's pulse spiked. "Who was that?" "Insurance," Victor replied. He stepped back inside and locked the door. "Listen carefully," he continued. "In 15 minutes you will leave this cabin alone. Walk toward the rear staircase. There will be a service door slightly ajar. You'll go through it. Someone will be waiting. Her breathing quickened. Waiting for what? For transfer. The word echoed. Transfer where? Victor moved with efficient precision now. He removed her bracelet, placed it deliberately on the nightstand. He took her sandals and set them near the balcony door. Staged. Even then, Eliza felt something cold move through her spine. This looks like you stepped outside, Victor finished calmly, like you leaned too far. Her mouth went dry. No, she whispered. No, you said disappear, not. Victor's eyes sharpened. There is no body, he said evenly. There will be no body, but there will be a narrative. Narrative. The word chilled her. You're scaring me, she said. Victor softened instantly. He stepped forward and cupped her face gently. Fear means you understand the stakes. He leaned his forehead lightly against hers. This protects you. It protects your mother. It protects everything. The shower continued roaring in the bathroom. The cabin phone rang suddenly. Victor ignored it. Time, he said quietly. Eliza's heart hammered violently in her chest. Once you leave, he continued, you do not look back, you do not hesitate, you do not call anyone, you wait for my instruction. And you, she asked. Victor smiled faintly. I play my part. The phrase hung heavy. Play my part. Her mind raced. This wasn't a pivot. It was theater. She stepped toward the cabin door slowly. Her hand trembled as she reached for the handle. Victor stopped her briefly. One more thing, he said. He removed her necklace, the one Naomi had given her years earlier. He placed it inside the suitcase. Personal items complicate identification, he explained calmly. Her chest tightened painfully. Victor, she whispered. He looked at her steadily. If anything goes wrong, he said, remember this was your choice too. The statement landed like a weight. Her choice. When had it become that? He opened the door quietly. The hallway outside was empty. The ship rocked gently beneath her feet. Somewhere above, laughter drifted from the main deck. Life continued unaware. Eliza stepped into the corridor. Victor closed the door behind her. It clicked softly into place. For a brief moment, she stood frozen. This is wrong. But every warning she felt had been diluted over years of trust. Years of positioning. Years of believing he was the only one capable of navigating danger. She walked down the hallway, toward the rear staircase. Her pulse thundered in her ears. The service door was slightly open, just as he'd said. Dim light spilled from inside. A man stood there. Not crew. Not passenger. Plain clothes. Expression unreadable. Now, he said quietly. She hesitated. Just for a second. Behind her, somewhere down the hall. A shout. A woman's voice. Confused. Has anyone seen? The sentence cut off. The man grabbed Eliza's arm firmly. Move. She stepped through the service door. It shut behind her with a metallic thud. Inside was a narrow corridor leading downward. Metal steps. Industrial smell. The hum of machinery. Her breathing grew ragged. This wasn't the open ocean. This was infrastructure. Hidden architecture beneath celebration. They descended quickly. At the bottom, another door opened directly toward a lower loading platform. Not a lifeboat meant for passengers. A maintenance craft. Engine idling. Two men waiting. The ship's hull loomed massive above them. Eliza's heart pounded violently. This is insane, she whispered. One of the men gestured impatiently. No time. Above them faintly. A commotion. Voices. Victor's voice among them. Panicked. Help, she's gone. Eliza froze. Gone. He was already performing. Already grieving. Already narrating her death. Tears burned her eyes. The man beside her tightened his grip. Now. She stepped into the small craft. The engine roared louder. The maintenance boat pulled away silently from the ship's shadow. Within minutes, distance swallowed the cruise liner's lights. From the deck above, passengers would soon be looking down into black water. Searchlights would scan. Announcements would echo. Emergency protocols would activate. Victor would cry. He would identify the bracelet. The sandals. The missing girl who must have slipped. There would be no body. Only absence. As the maintenance craft sped toward darkness, Eliza wrapped her arms around herself. The ocean hadn't taken her. She hadn't fallen. She hadn't drowned. She had been transferred. And somewhere above the black water, her stepfather was already telling the world she was dead. Scene 3, the performance. The alarm began 23 minutes after Eliza stepped off the ship. Victor timed it that way. Not immediately, that would look staged. Not too late, that would look negligent. He burst from the cabin barefoot, hair dampened deliberately from the shower steam, voice cracking in controlled panic. Help my daughter, she's not here. Passengers turned. A woman near the elevator gasped. A steward hurried forward. Sir, what's wrong? Victor grabbed the man's sleeve. She was on the balcony. I went into the bathroom. The shower was running. I came back and his voice broke. She's gone. The word echoed down the corridor. Gone. Within minutes, security arrived. 2 officers, calm, procedural. When did you last see her? Victor pressed his fingers to his temple, as if trying to reconstruct trauma. 15 minutes ago, maybe less. She stepped outside for air. Was she upset? The question lingered. Victor hesitated not too long. She's been overwhelmed lately. Family stress, nothing serious. She's not, she would. He let the sentence collapse. Security entered the cabin. They saw the sandals by the balcony door. The bracelet on the nightstand. The balcony railing slightly damp from sea mist. The shower still running. One officer stepped outside onto the balcony. Wind pushed against him. Black water below. No visible splash. No movement. Just the vast dark Atlantic. Victor stood in the doorway, shaking. A performance built not on hysteria, but restraint. It made him look believable. Responsible. Devastated. The captain was notified. Within minutes, the ship's horn blasted again, long and low. An announcement echoed through every speaker. Attention all passengers. We have a situation involving a missing guest. Please remain calm while we initiate search protocol. Passengers spilled onto decks. Whispers spread like wildfire. A teenager fell overboard. How? When? Was she alone? Victor stood at the railing now, held gently by a crew member as if to keep him from collapsing. Spotlights scanned the water. Bright white beams slicing into black nothingness. A rescue boat was lowered. Search teams mobilized. The ship began slowing. Victor's breathing appeared ragged. Inside, his pulse was steady. He calculated the timeline. By now, the maintenance craft would be far enough. By now, Eliza would be out of sight. By now, the narrative was solidifying. An officer approached him again. Sir, we need details. Was she depressed, on medication, any prior attempts? Victor's jaw tightened. No. A beat. She was strong, just sensitive. He swallowed hard. We've been under pressure, business issues, people harassing us. The officer's pen paused. Harassing. Victor shook his head quickly, as if regretting saying too much. It's nothing, just stress. Planting seeds. Not too obvious. Just enough to explain instability. Just enough to complicate motives. A female passenger nearby began crying. I saw her earlier, she whispered to someone. She looked quiet. Victor heard it. He allowed his shoulders to sag further. He turned toward the water and called out into the dark. Eliza. The name carried. Passengers lowered their heads. Searchlights continued sweeping. But the ocean revealed nothing. An hour passed. Then two. Protocol shifted. Hope thinned. The captain approached personally. We will continue searching, he said gently, but given the time and conditions. Victor nodded slowly, as if understanding the implication. Survival odds were minimal. The ocean was unforgiving. He allowed tears to fall now. Carefully, strategically, a medic offered him water. He didn't drink it. He kept staring into the darkness. The grieving guardian. The devastated stepfather. The man who lost a child. Inside his jacket pocket, his phone vibrated once. A short buzz. He didn't check it. But he knew what it meant. Transfer complete. He exhaled, barely noticeable. The performance shifted into its final stage. He turned to the officer beside him. I need to call her mother. The words sounded like they hurt. The officer nodded solemnly. We'll assist you. Victor stepped away from the railing, moving toward a quieter corridor. He leaned against the wall before dialing. He let it ring twice. On the third ring, Naomi answered. Victor, why are you calling this late? Silence. He forced air into his lungs unevenly. Naomi. Her voice sharpened instantly. What happened? He let the silence stretch just long enough. There was an accident. Across the ocean, Naomi stopped breathing. What kind of accident? Victor closed his eyes, as if bracing himself. Eliza went overboard. The line went dead silent. Then, a sound he hadn't calculated fully. Not screaming. Not hysteria. Just one broken inhale. No. Victor slid down the wall slowly, as if his legs gave out. Crew members nearby rushed toward him. He covered his face with one hand. We're still searching, he added quickly. They're doing everything. But he already knew the official statement that would come. Presumed lost at sea. Investigation pending. Tragic accident. Victor lowered the phone slowly. He let it rest against the carpet. And for a split second, just a fraction, his expression changed. Not grief. Not relief. Calculation. Because this was only phase 1. And somewhere in the dark waters beyond the ship's lights, Eliza was alive. But officially, she no longer existed. Scene 4, the other shore. The maintenance craft didn't slow until the cruise ship's lights were nothing more than distant stars on the horizon. Eliza sat rigid near the bow, hands gripping the metal bench as salt spray hit her face. The wind was sharp, unforgiving. No one spoke. The man beside her finally pulled out a satellite phone. He dialed once. Package secured, he said flatly. He ended the call. Package. Not Eliza. Not a person. A delivery. Her stomach twisted. Ahead, a faint silhouette emerged from the darkness, not land exactly, but structure. An offshore supply platform. Industrial. Steel legs drilling into the ocean floor. Dim work lights flickered along its edges. They weren't docking at a marina. They weren't heading toward safety. They were heading toward infrastructure. The boat curved behind the platform, shielded from open view. A ladder was lowered. One of the men gestured. Up. Eliza hesitated. Where are we? Temporary, the man replied. The word again. Temporary. She climbed. The metal was cold beneath her palms. At the top, another figure waited, older, clean-shaven, wearing plain dark clothes. He studied her face closely. Good, he said, no panic response. She stared at him. I'm not livestock. He almost smiled. Tonight you are survival. The phrase unsettled her. She was led across a narrow walkway into a small enclosed control room. Inside, a desk, a cot, a storage locker, a laptop, and a change of clothes laid out neatly. A backpack sat beside them. The older man entered last. You have 48 hours here, he said, then relocation. Relocation where? You'll know when it's time. She shook her head. No, I want details. The man regarded her calmly. Details create risk. She crossed her arms. You're asking me to trust people I don't know. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. You're alive because of those people. The word struck. Alive. Officially she was. She walked toward the small window overlooking the black ocean. Far in the distance, faint beams from the cruise ship still scanned the water. Searchlights. Looking for a body. Her body. Her throat tightened. Is he acting? She asked quietly. The older man didn't pretend to misunderstand. Yes. The bluntness stung more than she expected. Is my mother. She believes what she's been told. Eliza turned sharply. She believes I'm dead. A pause. Yes. The air left her lungs. He didn't soften it. Didn't cushion it. She sat down on the cot slowly. The reality settled differently here. Not in chaos. Not in adrenaline. But in stillness. She was dead to the world. Her name would be printed somewhere. Her picture shown. Speculation would spread. Conspiracy threads would form. Sympathy would flood her mother's phone. And she would be here. Hidden. Waiting. For how long, she asked. The older man leaned against the desk. That depends on how fast your stepfather resolves his exposure. Exposure. There's more than debt, isn't there? He didn't answer immediately. Instead, he slid the backpack across the floor toward her. Inside are new identification documents. Memorize the name. Memorize the date of birth. Memorize the history. She didn't touch it. What kind of exposure? The man studied her carefully now, assessing whether she was capable of hearing it. Your stepfather didn't miscalculate risk, he said finally. He miscalculated loyalty. A chill ran through her. What does that mean? It means someone he worked with decided removing you was leverage. Her blood ran cold. Removing me. As pressure. The room felt smaller. So this isn't protection from debt. No. Then what is it? The man stepped toward the door. War. The word hung in the air. Not metaphorical. Not dramatic. Strategic. Victor hadn't just staged her disappearance to avoid creditors. He had staged her death to eliminate leverage. If she didn't exist, she couldn't be used. Her mind raced. So who are these people? The man paused at the threshold. People who move quietly, people who don't lose. That's not an answer. He opened the door slightly. It's the only one you need right now. He stepped out. The door closed, locked from the outside. Eliza sat alone. The hum of generators vibrated through the floor. She slowly reached for the backpack, zipped it open. Inside, a passport, new name, new nationality, cash in multiple currencies, a burner phone, and a printed news alert screenshot. She froze. It was already online. Teenager presumed lost at sea in overnight cruise tragedy. Her photo, her real name, the bracelet identified, statements from passengers, a quote from Victor. She was everything to us. Her hands began to shake. Below the article, comments were already forming. Prayers, speculation, blame. Someone mentioned foul play. Someone mentioned suicide. Someone said cruise ships hide things. The narrative was growing without her. She scrolled further. A live news banner. Family devastated. A photo of Naomi outside their home. Cameras in her face. Her mother looked hollow already. Eliza's chest tightened painfully. She thinks I'm dead, she whispered to herself. Her phone buzzed. The burner. One message. Unknown number. Just 3 words. Stay invisible, V. She stared at it. Anger flared through the shock. Stay invisible. He was the one who created this. He was the one performing grief. He was the one turning her into strategy. Her eyes moved back to the passport. New name. New life. Temporary. But nothing about this felt temporary anymore. Outside, the searchlights in the distance finally went dark. The cruise ship resumed course. The ocean swallowed the performance. And on a small industrial platform hidden in open water, Eliza folded the news article slowly. The world believed she had fallen. But the truth was far more dangerous. Because she hadn't fallen, she had been erased. And wars don't end cleanly. Dawn came quietly. No sunrise spectacle. No dramatic color. Just a slow gray wash over steel and water. Eliza hadn't slept. The generators hummed beneath her feet, steady and indifferent. She sat on the cot with the burner phone in her hand, staring at the 3 words again. Stay invisible. She whispered it out loud, as if I ever had a choice. Outside the narrow window, the ocean looked endless, calm, almost gentle. No evidence of last night's chaos. No trace of searchlights. No sign of the ship. If someone looked at the news now, they'd see a tragic accident. If someone looked at the ocean, they'd see peace. If someone looked at Victor, they'd see grief. The lie was clean. Too clean. The door unlocked. The older man stepped in, holding a tablet. It's escalating, he said. She didn't respond. He turned the screen toward her. A news anchor's voice filled the small room. Authorities are investigating whether foul play may have been involved in last night's disappearance. A security image flashed on screen. Eliza leaned forward. It was grainy. Black and white. Time-stamped. Her corridor. Her. Walking alone. Toward the rear staircase. Her breath caught. That wasn't supposed to exist, she said. The man's jaw tightened. It was pulled from internal ship footage. It was not deleted fast enough. Deleted, she repeated. He didn't answer. The anchor continued. Sources indicate the teenager was last seen walking toward a restricted service corridor. Another image flashed. The service door. Slightly open. The timestamp blinking. Someone had paused it, zoomed it. Speculation was forming. The narrative was cracking. Eliza looked up slowly. Who released it? We don't know yet. Her pulse quickened. That means someone else is watching. Yes. Silence stretched. For the first time, fear shifted direction. Not fear of being gone. Fear of being known. The tablet screen changed again. A live shot outside her house. Reporters. Cameras. Naomi stepping outside, pale, composed beyond reason. A microphone hovered near her face. Mrs. Hale, do you believe this was an accident? Naomi didn't cry. She didn't collapse. She looked straight at the camera. My daughter does not make careless mistakes, she said evenly. Eliza's heart skipped. The anchor pressed, are you suggesting? Naomi cut in. I am suggesting we do not rush conclusions. It wasn't grief. It was suspicion. The older man lowered the tablet. She's not accepting the narrative. Eliza stood slowly. She never does. Her mother wasn't hysterical. She was thinking. And thinking led to digging. Digging led to questions. Questions led to risk. A notification popped up on the tablet. A private message sent to a journalist. Anonymous. 3 words. Check the manifest. The older man's expression darkened. This is coordinated, he muttered. By who? Eliza demanded. He met her eyes. Possibly the same people your stepfather is hiding from. Her blood ran cold. If they know about the footage, if they're pushing media, they're destabilizing the cover. Which meant one thing. Someone wanted her disappearance exposed. Or weaponized. The burner phone vibrated again. This time not a text. A call. Unknown number. The older man stiffened. Do not answer. It rang again. And again. And again. Relentless. Eliza stared at the screen. Something inside her shifted. Fear had been heavy. Confusion had been paralyzing. But this was clarity. She picked up the phone. Don't, the man warned sharply. She answered anyway. Silence on the line. Then, a distorted voice. Calm. Measured. We know you're not dead. The world tilted. Eliza's throat went dry. The voice continued. And now neither will the world. The line went dead. The room felt suddenly too small. The older man grabbed the phone from her, checking for trace signals. Did they say where they are? He demanded. She shook her head slowly. They don't need to. Because if they knew she was alive, then Victor's leverage was gone. His strategy collapsed. The war he thought he controlled had just shifted. Outside, the first true light of morning broke over the water. Bright, unforgiving. The older man's radio crackled at his belt. Urgent chatter. He stepped aside to listen. His face hardened. They've issued a maritime alert, he said quietly. For what? Eliza asked. He looked at her. For unauthorized vessel movement in this sector. Her heart pounded. They're closing the perimeter. Which meant someone had tracked the maintenance craft. Or someone had tipped them off. Either way, the ocean was no longer empty. It was narrowing. The man moved quickly now. Pack everything, we leave immediately. Where? She demanded. Not the original route. The platform vibrated slightly. Distant engine noise. Not from below. From the horizon. Eliza stepped to the window. Far off. A shape cutting across the water. Vast. Not Coast Guard. Not rescue. Too sleek. Too deliberate. Her pulse thundered. "They're coming here," she whispered. The older man grabbed the backpack and shoved it into her hands. "You wanted details," he said sharply. "Here they are. Your disappearance was not prevention." He met her eyes fully now. It was bait. The word hit harder than anything else. Bait. Victor hadn't just removed leverage. He had drawn someone out. Used her death to trigger movement. To expose enemies. To flush them into the open. Her hands trembled. He planned this. Yes. The engine noise grew louder. Closer. The radio crackled again. 2 vessels inbound. The older man pulled open a hidden floor hatch. A narrow ladder descending into darkness. "Down," he ordered. Eliza didn't move. Out on the horizon, the approaching vessel shifted direction. Sunlight caught its hull. Black. Unmarked. Vast. And on its deck, figures. Watching the platform. Watching her. The ocean was no longer silent. It was converging. Eliza stepped back from the window slowly. The world believed she was dead. But now, someone powerful knew she was. And they were coming. The platform shuddered as the first warning shot echoed across the water. Metal rang. The older man grabbed her arm. Now, as she descended into the dark hatch, the last thing she saw was the black vessel cutting through the morning light. And the realization that her stepfather hadn't just erased her. He had thrown her into the center of something far bigger than protection. Far bigger than debt. Far bigger than family. Above her, boots thundered across steel. Voices shouted. Another shot rang out. And beneath the ocean's surface, in a hidden chamber below the platform, Eliza understood the truth. She wasn't a victim. She wasn't a casualty. She was the trigger.